From News Chopper 11, hovering just outside the Crab Nebula, it's nerd news from Asteroid G. You're listening to Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein. With me, as always, is...
Josh Schaefer.
Queen Bee.
And Bex.
We are doing nerd news today as it's the start of the new month, and it seems like, we always need to discuss the news. So the news is, of course, once again, the coronavirus, which all the other countries seem to be succeeding at controlling just fine, but the USA has to be number one. USA.
USA, 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 USA.
And then you have to get short of breath because you have the coronavirus. but we failed.
I have asthma, so I get out of breath anyway.
I mean, technically we flattened the curve, as a couple of different political commentators have noted. We just flattened it by taking the curve back up again to where we started at. So, yay?
I mean, we had to be number one at something.
Oh, God. Oh my god.
It's either that or the highest per capita incarcerated citizens, so...
I mean, it is, we were just at the store, Becky and I, and it is nice to see that a lot of people are wearing masks. Not everyone, which is really fucking annoying, but a lot of people are. They still seem to be having issues with the idea of social distancing. Most humans apparently don't understand standing 6 feet away from everyone else.
Yeah, that's why you just do weird stuff to make them want to go 6 feet away, like... Rub your chest slowly while you look at them.
Yes, baby.
Oh, that's an idea.
I mean, every once in a while, I think about the fact that one dude wandered around, and had someone take pictures of him in Facebook, just wandered around head to toe dressed as Mike Myers. I mean, not the Austin Powers Michael Myers, but the actual Michael Myers.
Those have been pretty funny. My favorite's the Plague Doctor, though. I love that one.
People will still avoid you. It works.
Yeah.
It's foreign to me, though, because I have a very large space bubble. So automatically, I just want to be 6 feet away from people no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people's problems is that they're just not freaking mindful of anything.
Oh, yeah.
No.
There's that.
Americans,
they're just kind of in their own world and want to do what they want, and that's it.
Americans are kind of selfish at times.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Kind of selfish?
Kinda.
What?
Yeah. Understatement
we're
of
a
the
little
year.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've been dry fucked real hard.
Wow.
So
that's about the most accurate way to describe this I think I've heard.
I was talking to somebody at work yesterday about how maybe it was 2 days ago, it doesn't matter, but how Trump's pretty much using the same slogan as he did in 2016, the Make America Great Again.
Yeah.
And how ironic it is, because don't you think if you wanted to make it great, he just had 3.5 years to do that? So why would you want to make it great again?
Yeah.
I know it's.
But I told him that I think a better slogan
okay,
would...
dude.
Yeah, right. But I told him that a better slogan would be, this time we'll try to use lube, with an asterisk afterwards.
Well, the one that I just saw on Facebook was the fact that they're also doing America First again.
Oh,
but they're doing it with a very Nazi-style logo of an eagle above a circle of the American flag.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
So what's funny about that is I can't remember where I read this at, but someone did an article on that, and the Trump campaign literally just found random stock images to make into T-shirts, and that was one of them.
Oh my god.
So either they knew that it was Nazi iconography. Is that how you say it?
Iconography.
Iconography. Thank you. I knew that wasn't right when I said that.
Talk to the artist. We know this word.
Yeah. In media communications, we just called them icons.
It's clip art.
It's clip art. we studied it for 2 weeks and moved on to how to write a paragraph.
Well, you're in media communications. You would think you wouldn't have to be told not to do Nazi propaganda.
Right?
Yeah.
We never covered that, so I guess it's okay. But
things to avoid. Well, obviously we don't need to tell them not to be Nazis. They should just know that.
Right? We didn't...
Mike, in today's world, we might have to clarify to our actual president that we shouldn't have been using Nazi iconography.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. And there is a benefit here of how much the Trump campaign is failing at everything right now. The administration, the campaign to follow, is the fact that like, for the first time in his presidency, he has consistently been below 40% job approval.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I think the
yeah.
coronavirus is the last
Coronavirus is
straw.
it's the straw that broke the camel's back, and a lot of conservatives are turning away, and they're becoming never Trumps instead of like Democrat. They're not really Democrats. They don't want Trump in office, and Biden is the lesser of two evils. It's like last election, but in reverse, basically.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see kind of going forward, and this might be another 4 to 8 years, but I think we're going to start seeing a flip-flop again, like what happened when the Democrats and Republicans flipped platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Republicans are going to go more towards moderate Democrats, and the Democrats are going to go much more into the socialists. Yeah.
Well, what we honestly need in this country is a system that would support 3 political parties at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we had that, and we will, when states beyond Maine allow for ranked choice voting.
Yes.
But we need a system that does ranked choice voting across the board, so that we can have a political party that is hard conservative that no one votes for, except for like the white supremacists, and they never get into office except in Alabama. Then you have the moderate centrist party, which would, honestly, it would steal some Democrats, but it would steal a lot of Republicans. And then you'd have the far right or far left party that would be, the liberal wing of the party. And maybe the liberals wouldn't have as many seats at this point, except in places like California and New York, and yay! But it would feel more balanced at that point. And then you'd have a lot of coalition governments, and you wouldn't have one party or the other. You'd have people actually having to negotiate with sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I like the parliamentary system that the UK and Canada has.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with that, all except for the fact that the way that our government's constitution and rule of law is designed, you really need an opposition leader to the people in the House and the Senate. That way you can't have one party run the board and push through a bunch of shit that half the country doesn't agree with.
Yeah, and that's my biggest issue too, is how it's like the House is like, okay, well, 55% of people want this. Yeah. Well, we're just going to sit on it because it came from the House.
Yeah, Senate and House, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get what the parliamentary system does, and it's supposed to be its own check and balance because the people are supposed to vote, a party out of office when they're misaligned with the whole of the country. Unfortunately, as Britain and Brexit has proven, there's a flaw in that plan.
Oh,
I think you are better off having parliamentary system for like the House and Senate or House of Lords and lower chamber or whatever you fucking call it. But having an opposition, like having the ability for someone to be elected in who's in opposition to that is a better check and balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And then you have states like Montana, which will elect lower chamber people who are Republican and still vote people in for president that are Democrats. Montana is weird.
Montana, yeah.
Yeah.
I've driven through that state once. It was very pretty, though.
It was. So, do we have any other politics that we want to talk about? I mean, I know that the protests are still going on, even though you can't see any trace of it anywhere at this point, which is irritating.
Well, I'm kind of curious about the rumor that's been going around about Trump possibly dropping out.
That would be amazingly I would be so happy.
I mean, he could, except for the fact that they don't have any other candidate that's getting electoral votes. I don't know, I guess up until the convention, he could drop out and it would be fine. Because they could do a floor vote for someone else and Trump could just push his votes wherever. I mean, they couldn't push it towards Pence because Pence is actually more unelectable than Trump is.
Yeah.
So, as proven by the fact that if he hadn't dropped out of the governor's race in Indiana to go be vice president, he would have lost in ruby red Indiana. How do you do that?
With great difficulty.
Yeah. So, but if he decides he drops out after the convention, then it's a problem because the way that the systems are set up, you can't. Well, and even still, there's a certain cutoff point where you can be on the ballots, and I don't know if we've already passed the Rubicon on that.
I'm not sure how that works. I think if Trump were to drop out, it would totally fuck the Republican Party, regardless.
I'm not sure they can actually run another candidate at that point, because he wasn't, like, if you're not on the ballots for the primaries, I'm not sure if you can be on the ballots for the general.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I would assume that Pence would just fill that spot, like if he were to die or something. Like
Yeah, I mean, technically Pence is on the ballots because he's part of the party, part of the ticket right now.
Yeah.
If Trump dropped out, the only person that could run for it would be Pence. Pence is unelectable. Like even before Trump dropped below 40% job approval rating, even before a bunch of other stuff, there were a bunch of people on the Republican side who was like, yeah, it's a good thing Trump's running because I wouldn't vote for Pence.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at with the Republican side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the last breath of the Republican Party.
I'm hoping. Well, I'm hoping that it is because I'm a Democrat, but it would also be nice if, like, the far conservative side stopped having such a strong voice.
Yeah, like, I'm cool with, I don't really consider myself a Democrat. I'm,
well,
like, I took
you
one
have
of those...
to be because the Republican Party doesn't align with you anymore.
No, well, I'm further left than that, I'm more aligned with, like, the Social Democrats than the...
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because you didn't used to be.
Before, like, when I was younger, I always considered myself a centrist, but that line kept moving further and further to the alt-right, so I was like, eh.
Yeah.
But
as you doesn't mean what it used to.
No, and when you experience more life and see more shit that's fucked up, like, it's hard to, just be like, I'm just going to be a centrist, because, like, before, like, I would consider myself very socially liberal and pretty fiscally conservative, but now fiscal conservatism is not, we're not going to tax a lot. We're just going to tax the poor a lot, but not the rich. And now corporations are people, so that's fun. We're not going to tax them either, though. So, like, that's...
Yeah, and it always... Oh, sorry.
No, I didn't. I was done.
Okay. Yeah, to me, it's like the fiscal conservative stuff. It always feels like short term. It's like, okay, what's fiscally conservative right now? It's like they don't look at how spending money now will actually save in the long run either. No, because
exactly.
like with fucking homelessness, if you actually give people little tiny houses to live in to try to clean up their lives or whatever, they can get jobs. They won't be going to the emergency room and costing money to everybody else because they're not going to pay for that bill.
Right.
So
yeah, where's it going to go?
It's better to at least give somebody a little bit of a hand instead of like having it fall out in the long run where it's harder to see the direct trace of it or whatever. It's just like,
well, there was a story a few years ago on The Daily Show. I think this is actually when Jon Stewart was still in charge, where of all the states, Utah, Salt Lake City, but in Utah, actually did that. They set up, either they built or they bought a bunch of apartment built, like a whole complex, and they made it free housing for the homeless. All they had to do was go and apply for jobs. And like within, I think it was like they noted within 6 months to a year, any resident of that place eventually had a job, had an improved lifestyle, and was making enough money that they actively wanted to move out and get their own place so they didn't have to be on government funding anymore because it felt good to them to be able to afford to live somewhere else. But just by having that free housing and the opportunity to have an address and apply for jobs, they built their life up and got off the system. So, like, you want to be, like, fiscally conservative. That's the way to do it, where you lay out a little extra money up front, and you save yourself money and help improve lives in the process.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what conservatism is about.
Right. That's not what conservatism is about.
No.
And I don't even think conservatives understand what their actual party mission is.
It's anti-abortion, anti-gay, fuck the world, is what it really comes out to.
What it really comes out to, exactly. Oppress. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. They say it's about small government. It's not about small government. That is what it was way back in the day when the party was created. Now it's about how can we oppress everybody but the white man? Let's be honest. That's exactly what it is.
And the rich white man, no less. Yeah.
So, and that is why everybody hates us right now, all Americans, because regardless of whether or not you're a Democrat or a liberal or a Republican or a conservative, they only see what Trump is portraying right now. And I mean, Europe has now said we don't want Americans coming over here.
I mean, that's for the best. We don't want. I mean, honestly, I'm in this country and I don't want Americans coming over here.
Right? And it's basically, it's just one of those things that we have lost pretty much every single ally we've ever had. Mm-hmm. And they've basically kicked us to the curb and said, until you clean up your shit, you're stuck. And I think Republicans are now starting to understand, oh, damn, they mean it. Yeah, they do. Mm-hmm. They do mean it.
Like, thank you, Europe, for being the parent that we need.
Who voted for Trump and put that idiot in office, because now we're stuck until we fucking fix it.
Yeah, which we hopefully will in 4 months. Hopefully,
yeah.
I mean,
and the coronavirus is going to keep us inside until that idiot is out of office.
Well, and then if Biden's elected, we're still looking at least at 6 months from there. Because, I mean, if assuming he puts through executive orders that mandate that the country goes into lockdown again, it will still take time for the virus to slowly burn itself out among the people that have it. And you'll have pockets of resistance for idiots who don't want to go inside. And even with a vaccine that might be available at the end of the year, it takes time for that to get distributed. Even if, like, what Biden is, like, brought into office on January, 21st or whatever.
21st,
yeah. You're still looking at until at least July of 2021 before a lockdown could be lifted. So, at the minimum,
Okay, well, that's politics and nerd news, but there is actually some nerd news.
Yes, there is. One of the things that we want to talk about, that we arranged beforehand, is the fact that Disney has decided that they really fucked up with the Star Wars series. And it's about, I know, it's the movie specifically. Episode 7 made like $2 billion, which they were super stoked about. But then Rogue One only made half of that. The Last Jedi made a decent amount, like up close to episode 7, but not as good. But it was hated by certain portions of the fan base. And then Rise of Skywalker made even less and was hated by basically all of the fan base. Plus there was Solo, which was the first and only box office bomb in Star Wars history. The only place that Star Wars is actually good is on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
So Disney has decided that the best thing they can do is say, well, these three movies, episodes 7, 8, and 9, they exist, but they're going to exist in a pocket universe, and we're just going to reboot and do a different set of sequels at this point. Like, the original movies still exist, the 6 that George Lucas made, but everything after can just be new again.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Like, I would really like to see someone do that, but like with the same actors.
Just sign contracts for all 3 of them again and do a completely different set of stories.
Yeah, because I don't want Daisy Ridley to be screwed, because
you like her.
I feel like she got a bad rap. Like, she was given like the shit thing that she had to do.
Go play a Mary Sue and sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But she was great. I loved her.
And I just feel like between her and that other chick that got all that dumbass backlash, Tran.
Yeah, Rose Tran or something.
Rose Tran. I keep on wanting to call her Dr. Tran, but that's
Dr.
like...
Tran.
I don't think that they should actually do that. I think they should take it in a different direction and bring in Ahsoka as a character and follow that storyline, and
that'd be dope.
Follow the other like bring the other characters to live action, like what was his name, Jason, and all the ones from the Rebel series that they did animated. Bring that in. Let's follow those characters.
You said bring someone into live action and make them actually like real and so forth and well acted. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, like someone else to play Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, they're considering bringing him in to do a backstory for Vader.
We already had Vader's backstory. We don't need more shitty Hayden Christensen.
I agree.
We don't.
I think that they should just push it back all the way to the beginning, like during the Knights of the Old Republic era.
Yeah, because they have a couple different eras they can play around in. They have the Old Republic that they've told a few stories in, but there's still plenty of room to do something with it. And they have what they were going to launch last year, but they've pushed to sometime this year, the High Republic, which is what, 1,000 years before the George Lucas movies?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So it's like
I think it needs an entire new story.
I said this on the site when I wrote an article about this a couple days ago, but I want to see them do something like the Far Republic, which is like 1,000 years after the sequels and so forth, and just like actually have technology upgrade for once, and do like maybe not Jedi and Sith, but have like the battle lines be drawn differently, or like have multiple factions or something. Just because, like, if you look at it, the technology of the Old Republic is exactly the same as the technology of the George Lucas movies. Like, they literally have a ship that looks like the Millennium Falcon in it, like 4,000 years in the past. We had, like, you look at the Industrial Revolution, it's been 140 years, and our world is completely different. You're telling me they can't upgrade anything in 4,000 years?
Right?
No, it's impossible.
No.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I want to see them go 1,000 years in the future, and I want to see a technological jump. I want to see a Far Republic that looks different than the movies we've seen, but still has, like, the Force and laser swords, so it still feels like Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much to the Star Wars universe that's, like, expanded in novels and comics and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the fact, like, there's no reason to be stuck in this Skywalker saga. Like, you can use his ancestors or whatever, like, don't care about that, even though they kind of, I think, fucked themselves over with not giving him kids. But
it would be funny if they were just like set it 4,000 or 1,000 years in the future, and like a random bartender they talk to for 5 seconds is like Jedha Skywalker, and then that's all you see of them, and they just move on.
Yeah, and it's irrelevant of whether or not that the Skywalker name comes from Rey or Luke or Ben or whoever. Like I don't know, like this. I'm a pretty big Star Wars nerd. I love it. But like the original trilogy is obviously top tier, and then I liked Rogue One, but everything else has been kind of eh.
Well, I liked the thread that was put in The Last Jedi that was basically ignored by the next movie, where the idea that like the midichlorians, or whatever you want to call it, the Force itself still exists outside of these people that had it, so that new Force-sensitive people are growing up, and you don't have to have the same incestuous Jedi cycle over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but they just completely trashed that movie, and they even laughed while they were doing it, it just made Last Jedi even worse, or not Last Jedi,
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker even worse.
Ep 9. Yeah, so I mean, I don't disagree that something needs to be done, because they are right. They drove under the leadership of Kathleen Kennedy. They drove that movie series into the goddamn ground. But and all the blame relies on the studio head, Kathleen Kennedy, and J.J. Abrams, because they should have seen this shit coming. So, and I mean, she fucked up Rogue One because apparently it had a darker tone and a different ending, and she didn't like that. And then she fucked up Solo by getting rid of, like, the brilliant Chris Miller and Phil Lord. Like, how do you fire them from a project?
Right?
Yeah, even MTV is sitting there going, wow, we really should have kept these guys around. And they're giving them more episodes of Clone High 15 years later. Like,
which is amazing. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love Clone High.
So, like, the simple fact is, like, you had these guys on there, and instead you decide to fire them and hire the very workman-like dude from Happy Days. Like, whatever his name is. Yeah.
Ron Howard?
Thank you. Ron Howard. I mean, and Ron Howard is a fine director, but that's the best I would describe him. Yeah, he's fine.
He's good for sitcoms, and, like, I can't think of a movie where I was like, wow, Ron Howard did a great job directing that movie.
I mean, Apollo 13 was a huge success, but I think that was more on the story than the way it was directed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that you had Tom Hanks, and it's really hard to direct Tom Hanks badly.
Yeah, Tom Hanks and Darius
Tom
Denise.
Hanks won't let you direct
No, he'll just take over. He's a big enough star. He's one of the few A-list stars we have. Like, I think it's him and Tom Cruise, basically. The two Toms. Yeah, and neither of them will let you direct them poorly. Sometimes Tom Cruise goes too far and takes over the project too much, but Tom Hanks has a good eye and knows how to get good stuff out of the material he's given.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I've seen a lot of movies come out from Ron Howard, and most of the time you see the trailer and you're sitting there going, that looks perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he doesn't do a bad job. I like
No.
Ron Howard, but
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't say he's like an Alfred Hitchcock or.
No. You don't sit there going, that's very Howardian.
Yeah, he's better than Mike. Like on the Michael Bay scale, he's better than Michael Bay.
I will watch a Ron Howard over a Zack Snyder any day.
Yeah, he's better than Zack Snyder. Like he's a great narrator. We know that.
There's our one Zack Snyder trash for the episode. So,
but yeah, like Star Wars needs to do something because, like, J.J. Abrams did the Star Trek movies before, or at least one of them, I think. But
he did too. He did a pretty decent Star Trek, and then he did the oh my god, why are they giving us the same crap from a few movies ago, Into Darkness, which is, I mean, a knock against J.J. Abrams, as we saw with his Star Wars movies. That's his style. He sees something that he liked from his youth, which in this case was Wrath of Khan, and decides, hey, you know what? Let's just remake that.
Yeah.
So, when he's successful,
keep in mind that J.J. Abrams was not he didn't even know what Star Wars was.
Star Trek.
He also didn't know what Star Trek was.
I thought he actually knew Star Wars.
Yeah, I thought he was a pretty big Star Wars fan.
Nope. He was not. He was not either a Star Trek fan or a Star Wars fan. He was brought into both of them at a fairly older age, kind of introducing, we'd like you to be the director of.
He was, growing up, he was totally hardcore Logan's Run.
Right?
Like, I think in order to take some of these bigger nerd properties, especially with how volatile the Star Wars fans are against their own
oh my god, yeah.
fandom, like, they're very gatekeepy, and
well, and I think that touches upon a problem right here. You could make a bunch of movies set in the High Republic. You could set a bunch of movies in the Old Republic. You could set a bunch of movies in the Far Republic. If it's movies, the fan base is going to probably rebel against anything. Like, the only reason why The Mandalorian is as well received as it is because it's on TV and expectations are lower. So
yeah,
and it also helps since it's good.
I mean that's a thing right there. They need to just take everyone who's been in charge of The Mandalorian and set them to maybe possibly do a movie. I mean, granted, there's risk there because doing a TV show is different from a movie, but I feel like they know their shit.
Well, they do. The guy in charge of The Mandalorian is Jon Favreau, who
is an uber nerd.
Yeah, he's an uber nerd. Sometimes he turns in workman-like products. There was that movie, Chef, I think, that was kind of okay. Zathura is not the best film in the world. And Iron Man 2 is a knock against him. But he also did do Iron Man, and has been an advisor on many of the early Marvel movies. Like, Iron Man is a great, fantastic fucking movie, and it shows what can happen when Jon Favreau cares about the material and isn't rushed. And I think Mandalorian shows that same level of care. When he's invested in the material, and he has time and the clout to do it his way, he does fantastic work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. I think in order to get these properties off the ground again, you need to have someone who actually appreciates the source material more so than just wanting to make a paycheck or just trying to appease a studio or a certain sect of fans. Like,
yeah.
Like, and that's why I liked Rian Johnson, because he actually, like, that was the only movie that felt like a Star Wars movie was, and
it felt
that
like
was
a
the
very
most
different one, but it still felt like a good movie.
Yeah, it was a good sci-fi. Yeah. But like, you know, and it's really hard too to use the same characters because, you know, like they're like, oh, we didn't want Luke Skywalker to die. Oh, we didn't want Han Solo to die. Oh, we didn't want Princess Leia to die. It's like, well, I mean, like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, they said that this was going to be a new generation. Like, they're not just going to keep the old generation there. Like,
yeah, this isn't the old New Republic. Anyway, so the other big news that we have, since I kind of feel like we've talked that out enough.
This is going to end up being one of the longer podcasts for sure.
Oh, yeah. We have the Batman. I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
So we have Ben Affleck, who, after leaving the DCEU, the extended universe for DC
Mhm.
Comics, and saying, I don't want to play this Batman anymore, he has, after going through the process of, like, seeing what Zack Snyder was doing to do the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League for HBO Max, which I am going to hold my opinion on until I see it, but it is Zack Snyder, so I'm not sure how much I can hold that opinion. And then we have okay, so he saw what happened there, and the reason why he walked away from the Batman originally was because he did not like the executive meddling from the studio, trying to change what he was going to make for the Batman movie he was going to write and direct. So, after seeing how it went with Zack Snyder's Justice League, he feels that HBO is more supportive, and he has signed back on to playing the Batman for HBO Max, and will do some Batman project or multiple DCEU projects or something for HBO Max. Which I guess, in one case, means that the Zack Snyder Justice League is going to be the in-continuity Justice League, which I don't know how that makes me feel. But also it confuses me. And I will let everyone else jump in on this in just a second. But it confuses me because we also have the Matt Reeves-directed sparkly vampire Robert Pattinson The Batman coming out in theaters sometime next year, depending upon when coronavirus allows it to happen. And then we have, as was rumored recently, Michael Keaton being courted to come back as his version of the Batman to star as a kind of leadership role for a new group of heroes, specifically The Flash, in a very Batman Beyond style era based on the Tim Burton movies. And I guess that would mean that the Joel Schumacher movies would be out of continuity, which I'm okay with. So that's 3 Batman projects, all of which are basically theatrical quality, and would probably lead to 3 different Batman being on the big screen, assuming the Ben Affleck Batman would show up in, like, a later Wonder Woman or Aquaman or something. So I'm like, is that too much Batman for the big screen?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Maybe just a bit.
It's saturated as hell. Like, and this is a problem that Warner Brothers, I think, has always had with their film franchises.
Okay.
Is that it's like, okay, well, we're gonna release Batman with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Oh, that made a lot of money. Let's do a sequel. Cool, the sequel was all right. Let's do another one of Batman, but let's change the Batman around. And that kind of
They love Batman.
They just love Batman. It's,
They tend to feel that Batman is the only bankable superhero they have, despite the fact that Wonder Woman was better received than anything starring Batman recently.
Yeah. And like, there's so many characters, and this is what I think Marvel's done. And I think I've said this on other podcasts too, but like, Marvel has really crafted a world around these superheroes, and they have like a good way of like bringing them in, taking them out, and kind of having generational changes with the superheroes. But like, Warner Brothers is just stuck in this. We need all of our films to be 1980s dark, gritty Reaganomics type shit. Like, like that's all we can do. And it's like, here's Superman. Oh, he's gonna be dark and gritty now. Here's Wonder Woman. She's gonna be dark and gritty. Here's Aquaman. He's gonna be dark and gritty. Here's Green Lantern. This is just gonna be a really shitty movie.
I mean, and to be fair to DC, when they realized the DCEU was failing, they have in development Wonder Woman 1984, which looks like it's not going to be dark and gritty. It's very day-glow candy colored. They had Aquaman, which was done by the Fast and Furious guy and was about as far from dark and gritty as you could get. Bright, sunny, very candy colored when it was underwater. And you had Harley Quinn, which was dark, but only dark because it's Harley Quinn in her Birds of Prey movie. But it still had a candy-colored, weird day-glow aesthetic and a lot of humor. People might not have liked it, but the critics loved it, and I'm sure it's going to do well on home video once people actually understand what the movie is.
Yeah, so, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, well, at some point you can...
So.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the Michael Keaton one because I think he will be absolutely amazing, and I'm a completionist, so I want to see him age into the Batman Beyond that he can be. I think he's going to be amazing.
It promises a Batman Beyond universe, which I think would be cool to see on the big screen. And if the Flash movie works, I'm sure they'll do an actual Batman Beyond where he like finds a Terry McGinnis to take over the actual mantle. But it also means that if they want to do something in the vein of a true Dark Knight Returns, like Frank Miller style movie, but hopefully better written. They could do that as well because they actually have a character who's the right age for it.
Right.
Mhm.
So I actually think the Michael Keaton one has a lot of promise, and I like the fact that they're ditching the Joel Schumacher movies and they're just be like, you know what, these two here worked. And they're even talking about having Michelle Pfeiffer come back for that one.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I'd
Yeah,
be
I'll be
definitely.
excited
I mean,
for that. That's awesome.
Michael Keaton was my favorite Batman.
he's a great
Yep,
Batman.
mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'm kind of
I
sad
mean,
that Heath Ledger is gone because having like Michael Keaton against a Heath Ledger Joker would be actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
That would have been epic.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Tim Burton. I know
No.
you are, but I'm not a huge
I'm
fan
not.
of Tim Burton. But I do.
Fucking hate Tim Burton.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Tim Burton was okay until Planet of the Apes, and now I cannot stand his goddamn scissor hands. Fuck that guy.
Oh damn,
Okay.
that was a step too far.
Just tell us how you feel about Mike.
I have on the podcast before.
So I do like Michael Keaton as the Batman. He is also my favorite Batman, and
I agree with that.
and I agree. Him with Heath Ledger. Oh my God,
Would've been
that would
great.
be amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. But there is other nerd news, other than Batman. There is a new Facebook layout. If anybody is on,
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
They launched
I like
it a
it.
month or two ago, and I guess it's now the layout, and it's okay.
There is a new, like, we really need this right now, a new World War III real-time strategy game, up to 64 players, called Conflict of Nations, where you can
Sigh.
nuke people. Like, we
Yay.
really need that right now. Thanks, 2020. And there's a new Alien versus Predator franchise being talked about right now, where they're going to reboot both Alien and reboot Predator.
I mean, I heard about
thanks,
that.
Disney.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I heard about that. I heard that Marvel had gotten the comic book rights to both sets of characters, which I
Yeah.
guess is okay. I mean, Dark Horse did a really good job with them, like shepherding that franchise for decades. So I'm a little sad that Dark Horse is losing the rights to it, but I mean, that was inevitable. I'm sure every franchise that is owned by Fox or Disney at this point is going to fall under the Marvel banner eventually. So, like,
Well, they did lose like up and around what, $25 billion over the last 4 months because of having to shut down.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, they got to find ways to reboot things so that they can actually make some of that money back in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter.
But I'm just thinking, like, eventually, I know Dark Horse doesn't have the rights to Buffy anymore. I think right now it's with like Image or IDW or something. I would assume, like, as soon as that contract ends, Buffy's going to move over to Marvel as well, just like Star Wars did, just like Alien versus Predator did. And I'm not opposed to the idea. I mean, we tried to reboot it ourselves. I'm not opposed to the idea of Alien getting a reboot, especially if they do it under the 20th Century Studios instead of the Disney label, because then it will actually probably be R-rated. I struggle with the idea of, like, having seen what they've come up with for the Aliens movies and how much trouble we had trying to come up with a reboot that worked for Aliens. Where do they go with those franchises at this point that is actually going to feel fresh or interesting?
But Mike, maybe they listened to our podcast and they got some few ideas.
Listen to Asteroid G, now online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the last little bit of nerd news, The Princess Bride has been, I guess, pieces of the story have been redone as home videos by A-listers,
I heard
and
about that.
they've put it onto Quibi. I haven't watched it
I
yet,
didn't watch it, yeah.
but some of the A-list actors are pretty decent. So maybe if I'm really bored one day, I'll watch it.
Let
But
us know.
you know,
I'd be curious.
there
Yeah.
you go. There's some nerd news for all the
So-
extra nerdy stuff going on in our
There-
lives.
Nerd news
There
snippets
was-
to end the cast. What were you going to say,
Well,
Josh?
there was actually something that I just remembered.
Yeah.
You mentioned Buffy, and we were talking about the DCU. Did you guys hear that Joss Whedon is in the news for being an asshole again?
Oh,
Always.
really?
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, so you
So
didn't hear that. Josh,
what'd
do
he
you
do
want to
this
tell the
time?
story?
Yeah, so from what I understand anyway, this is just off the top of my head. The guy who played Cyborg in the Justice League movie, what was his name? Ray Fisher?
Yeah, I think that's
I
right.
think.
Which let me
he-
say, Ray Fisher sounds like a superhero secret identity.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Ray Fisher of Central High School. Yeah.
Hold on, I'm trying to see. Yeah, I was right. It was Ray Fisher. I wanted to quote him in a tweet that he did, and I
Okay.
didn't want to misconstrue what he was saying.
Word for word it.
But he tweeted that Joss Whedon was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable as far as his behavior was concerned on the set of Justice League.
I'd heard that.
Yeah,
And then to follow that up, apparently stories are coming out now that the reason why Cordelia doesn't show up in season 5 of Angel is because Joss Whedon got super pissed at the actress Charisma Carpenter for getting pregnant during season 4, screwing up his plans for season 4, and so he fired her and wrote her out of the season after her contract expired.
Yep.
What an asshole.
Yeah, and apparently Kevin Smith involved himself too because some visual effects people were telling him that he was just being an asshole on the set of Justice League and just shitting on everything that Zack Snyder did, which I give him a little bit of a pass for.
Well,
Zack Snyder,
Zack Snyder stuff, but the rest of it, but it's the thing of, I'll accept Ray Fisher's story because he was there. I'll also accept Kevin Smith getting it secondhand from someone else, because say what you will about the movies Kevin Smith produces, he seems like a genuinely honest dude.
Yeah, even though he verbally accosted me for no reason, I will tell you, he seems honest.
He verbally accosted you, but he did it in a genuinely honest manner.
Yes, exactly. Like he might be personally a dick, but he's an honest dick.
He's a completely honest dick.
I can respect that.
Mad props. So Joss Whedon, once again, on my shit list.
Yeah, and it's just kind of sad to me because, the more that comes out about him, I always thought he was kind of like a...
Yeah.
I don't want to say a feminist icon, but...
As far as a dude could be,
Yeah, but it's just kind of it just seems like the more that comes out, it's just he wasn't really trying to uplift women. He just liked... It was like a weird Louis C.K. sexual fetish type thing where...
Yeah, he just likes writing about young women.
Yeah, so... Yeah. Which, could overpower him.
If you hear these stories and then you go watch Dollhouse again, you kind of see it.
Yeah, now that you say that, that's kind of like a weird puzzle piece click.
Clicks right into place, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woof.
All right.
Woof.
So, and my ideals of famous people are suddenly brought to the forefront, and it ruins my entire ideology about them.
Yeah,
right?
This is why I'm not a fan of many people.
Yeah, there was what was it? Ansel Elgort, that guy from High School Musical or whatever, who then was in the Baby Driver. He's been accused of sexually assaulting a 17-year-old girl back in the day after Baby Driver came out, courting her online and then having sex with her when she didn't really want to. And God, there's a lot of terrible people in Hollywood.
Dan Anderson, who was on that 70s show, he was my favorite character on the 70s show. To find out that he's a major rapist, that's not necessarily a great thing either.
Yeah, gonna be hard to go back and
good people, man.
Gonna be hard to go back and watch that 70s show. Gonna be hard to go back and watch Baby Driver, which was already difficult because there was already another rapist in that movie.
You can't watch the Cosby Show anymore.
Well, I didn't anyway, but he was always creepy too. His love of pudding and those sweaters, you could just kind of tell.
Well, yeah, he loses points for sweater vests.
Those really awful sweaters.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of sweater vests at all.
No.
But what happened? Harvey Weinstein. That's one of the biggest, pinnacles of
he was
the
always
Democratic
a dick,
Party.
Yeah.
He may have been a dick, but he was the biggest liberal supporting the Liberal Party for a long, long time. To come out that he's some major
creepy asshole. Yeah.
Raper.
Yeah, rapist. Totally.
Yeah,
Hollywood sucks.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like this has always been a thing, even since the Golden Age, there's always sex scandals and well, who was it, Fatty Arbuckle that was having sex with that chick and crushed her to death?
Yeah.
Or
That's
something
I will say Fatty Arbuckle is fun to say.
Yeah, it is.
I feel bad about that, but it is.
I know nothing about this particular person, and now I don't even want to know anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. He was a comedian in the early pre-20s, I think, the early 19.
I think what it just says is that people can be good-natured, but the second you give them money and power, which Hollywood does, a lot of humans become shitty assholes.
Yeah, like all
Yeah.
that shit that's coming out about Ellen right now.
What?
What, Ellen?
Is there more bad news about what's going on with Ellen? I know about something about her show might possibly be ending or something.
Yeah, so there's all this stuff that came out. Like I think it was about a month or two ago. I don't know. All my
Oh, so
timelines are kind of.
you're not joking. You're actually being serious.
Yeah, so
Okay.
apparently she's just a really shitty person and treats everyone like shit on
Wow.
her set and stuff. Yeah, like I'm not gonna go into it because there's a lot of anecdotes, like firsthand anecdotes, where it's just how she's a terrible person, and
That
she's
sucks
pretty
because
much
she seems so nice.
no, yeah, and like if you just Google Ellen DeGeneres, like I can't like Twitter, there was a guy that was collecting firsthand experiences with them.
Wow.
Let me see if I'm gonna pause and see what that.
Well, I will say that pretty much everybody they have good days and they have bad days. And
Yeah.
so there's always that chance that, you're going to catch Oprah on a bad day. It's possible.
Okay,
I've had
but-
bad days. I'm generally a nice person, but you can catch me on a bad day.
Yeah.
And then there are the people who are extremely changed by money in Hollywood, or it doesn't even have to be Hollywood money. It could be any kind of money. And they get changed, and basically it's an addiction.
Well, and there's the
Having
thing,
money
though.
is an addiction, and you become kind of assholeish.
When
No.
Oprah does it, one, she's a badass bitch. She can get away with a lot. But also, after she's an asshole to you, she'll probably just buy you a car because she's a compulsive gift giver. Like,
Yeah.
you get a car, and you get a car, and everyone I fucked over gets a car. But it's like, you look at that and you're like, okay, but Ellen, like, she fucks you over, and then what? She's gonna do a little dance off for you? It's not really the same.
It's not really the same.
It's not really the same. Look under your seat. Oh, look, I'll give you a dance. That's not no.
You've now turned Ellen into some kind of lesbian lap dancer.
That wasn't what I was implying.
Turned into? I think she already was.
A completely different vision of Ellen. So thank you, and don't ever do that again.
Anyway, do we have
Yeah,
anything
but-
else?
This
no,
is
this
the
is
most entertaining nerd news I think we've ever done.
There you go.
yeah.
So then this
But
has
also-
been, huh?
Just so it was Kevin Porter, the comedian
Okay.
who started that. If you needed to splice that in.
Excellent.
Cool.
Oh, well, one thing. One
I'm
last
never
little
going to
bit,
be able
I
to end this
guess.
cast. I'm never
Nope,
going to be
never.
We're
able
going to go on
It-
for hours.
to.
That's right. Buckle in. Starbucks. It seems...
Were they
Yeah.
assholes to people and then gave them cars?
No,
Okay.
it seems like they might be using less syrup in
Oh, right.
in their coffees,
Anecdotally.
maybe. Anecdotally, so watch out for that, y'all who do the Starbucks.
We've had a few
'cause-
coffees recently that have seemed less sweet than normal, which, in our opinion, is actually a good thing because Starbucks uses way too much sugar syrup in their coffees.
Yeah, like I usually have to ask for half unless I know I'm going to go right home, in which case I just like
Thin it down.
you know,
Well,
thin
thank
it down
you
and it
to
lasts
the
me for 4 days.
barista on Lafayette Road, who is now making the Starbucks with less syrup.
Yes.
Okay, and with that, I am cutting us off. This has been Nerd News from Not So Live with Asteroid G. I am Mike Finkelstein,
I'm Josh Schaefer.
I'm Queen Bee.
And I'm Bex.
and we will see you next time.